Okay, welcome everybody. Happy February, happy few days before February break. I know no one's looking forward to that. So this is part 2 of our course selection meetings. As you can see, I hope some of you have seen in some of the messaging sent out who is coming today. We are finishing with the last, the other half of the departments coming to explain their course offerings, electives, requirements, things like that. There are some links that will be provided. Mike Reedy gave us the social studies course offerings that it is online, and we will certainly have it on our website, and a few other people are bringing slideshows, they told me, so we can also link those that will be available online later, as well as this recording. So if anybody has any questions, and maybe as you've been talking to your children, you know they're starting to talk about this process with some of their teachers and getting recommendations, and Meg can certainly tell us more about that. Anyway, welcome. So let's do our, although I don't see minutes out to be able to approve, I didn't know if they were printed when I sent them.
We'll do it next meeting.
We can do it next meeting. Okay, so we'll do that next meeting. Great. We could do a treasurer update.
Yeah, quickly, we are just about at $45,000 raised for the year. Checking along, I can't believe we're already in February. So we actually did, just as a little aside, there was a Fiorella's fundraiser that, when was that? Was that December?
December?
Yeah. So we raised $400, so every little bit counts, you know?
$400.
$400. Yeah, so we have, we did a couple faculty grants recently, and they were in the math area, so for some professional development around AP Calc, I believe, and courses that the teachers are going to take, which will be great for our students. And we have a library author visit coming, who is Kekla Magoon. I think that's in March. It's either March or early April. And then we talked about this last time, Katie Greer will also be coming in March. This week we're doing a faculty appreciation. So Kristen and the faculty appreciation group have organized a special date to come again for the teachers and staff on Friday, on Valentine's Day. So that's where we are for treasurer stuff.
Great. Okay, thank you. Principal updates, Michael?
Sure, I'll be quick. I have one that I'll do last, but really, you know, the week before break where people are hanging out by their fingernails, I think. To get there, lots of people have been sick and out. That's students, that's staff, that's administration. So, you know, we're timed for a break, which will hopefully help and get everybody healthy. I hope people got a chance to see Anything Goes. The reviews were awesome. I have been relegated to seeing it on video because I had a fever on Saturday and I was at a conference on Friday, so I did not get to see it in person, but everyone tells me that I should be so sad because the kids were amazing. And really just want to lift up Skylar Grossman, who did his first show here, and so it's a hard thing, and he felt a lot of pressure. And a ghost of the great Wellesley performances in the past he was trying to live up to, but he did a tremendous job. So if you see any of those kids or if you see Skylar, please congratulate him. That was great. I want to talk briefly about the 10th grade AP and honors offering. We are offering honors. I know that wasn't originally our plan. And I spoke many times publicly about that. Look, at the end of the day, we heard from a lot of people that this is really what the community wants. And, you know, sometimes we make judgment calls and we do the best we can with what we've got. And I think that's what we're doing. And I'm positive I know who's teaching, or at least we're planning to have teaching all the classes, and they're great, and they're going to give a great experience to all the kids, and we will manage the best we can with all the challenges and positives that come with that. So that option is available, and Mike will talk more about that, and he can talk about, Mike Reedy will be here later today, and he will talk more about the differences in those two classes that might be informative for people as they make their decisions, but just so people realize that offering is there. And I don't have anything else that I want to bring today. I want to get right to the other stuff, so I'll turn it over to Meg, who can talk more about process.
Yeah, I'm gonna give some updates. There's so much going on. I made myself a little note card here. So 10th and 11th grade seminars have started. We always launch in with a transcript review, and that sort of feeds right into course selection. So talk about classes we've taken, upcoming classes, graduation requirements, all of that. In our 10th grade seminars, this cycle, right before break and maybe continuing a little bit after break, we've actually had the Evolutions program come and present, so you're gonna hear from them next to all of our 10th grade students, and that I had the pleasure of sitting in on one this morning, and that was excellent. Right after break, our teachers, we generally kind of reserve those days, although some people may have already begun the conversation, for teachers to give student recommendations, and then teachers put those recommendations into Power School late February, early March. Power School will be open for a whole cycle, March 6th through 14th, for students to make selections. And again, 10th and 11th graders, we have in seminar with counselors during that time. So we'll make sure to answer any of those questions. And we've already covered course selection with our 9th graders, but we will certainly be reaching out again to let them know they're welcome to drop in. We're happy to help. They can review it again with us. So everything is due March 14th. That's a Friday, including any level change forms that after conferencing with teachers and talking as a family, students feel like they want to make a different selection. Those are also due that day. Then we really sort of, just to extend the timeline, we really go into the process of determining sections, putting everything into the computer. That's kind of through April. May, counselors, we get our first look at the computer, what it puts out, which is great and not always perfect, right? So we go in and we do some balancing, and yeah, we look at student preferences, priorities, and we adjust those, and then it will be available for students to see what they actually have received, not which teacher, not which block, but the classes that they are in early June. And then again, for just the second time ever, we're going to open up for our current high school students. This is not 8th to 9th, because they don't get their course list in June, they see it in August. But for our current high school students, they'll have an opportunity to make change requests over the summer. If something comes up, something happens, something changes, they go on a college visit, and they realize they have a newfound love of or they, whatever it might be, or they take a course, they can make those requests, and counselors will be meeting in August before the year starts to try to make as many of those adjustments as possible. It's not always possible, but we will certainly do that again. I think it worked out fairly well last year, because we do not have a change process in the spring after course selection, but we do have one that will be open during the summer months. That's a lot. I hope that helps, and I'll be here taking notes and chiming in if I could be helpful throughout today's presentation.
Thank you. Okay, I see Tom Hennis and Crystal Bartels from the Evolutions program, so they are going to, you need to get this on.
Yeah.
There you go. You're never in the way.
Any one of these seats is fine.
Good getting in, I don't know how to get out.
There you go.
No.
We'll be nice and loud. Good morning. Crystal Bartels. I am the social studies teacher in the Evolutions program. We have a former student back on the camera, Gen 9. And I'll allow my esteemed colleague to introduce himself.
I'm Tom Hennis, also part of the Evolutions program here.
We've been running our program, we're in our 10th year in our program this year. Tom has been the director of the program and with the program for all 10 years. I've been with the program for the last 5 years, and prior to that I was a social studies teacher teaching modern world history and U.S. history. So we want to take this morning an opportunity just to share about our program, who it's offered to, what type of credit it's given, and what it would look like if your student decides to take our program, and what this experience will offer for you. So next year would be our Gen 11. We have a short informational film that we're going to share with you. It's a couple minutes long. Students in our Gen 7 made it. This was during COVID, so you'll see masks, but gives you insight into it and a look into the program.
Other than Sam and Melissa, any other families been through the EVO program in the past? Oh, all right. We always look again, like, you know, we've been around so long, so people know, like, oh yeah, we know who you are. Some people, it's the first time you've never heard of who we are and what you have to offer. So we just always want to get a sense of that. Let's see if our audio works in here.
Evolutions has transformed me as a person and a learner by providing a real-world project-based take-home learning. I'm receiving honors credits for my English, science, art, and social studies classes by learning to build a tight-knit community where I can embrace newfound curiosity and develop independence. To make all this possible, Evolutions has 5 core values. The first is be here now. In Evolutions, we value the people we're with, places we go, and processes we go through. To create a community that works well together, we devote the time we spend in the program to each other and the experience. The next is be authentic. To make the most out of Evolutions, everyone needs to be their true selves. While it may take some work, we ask that everyone shares their honest opinions and experiences and interacts with each other in genuine ways. The next is be curious. Curiosity sparks creativity. Be interested in each other and what you are learning. Always listen with open ears, learn to respectfully disagree, and lean into discomfort. Next is be supportive. Come in every day prepared to lift each other up. Celebrate the success of yourself and others, ask for help when you need it, and offer it where you can. Finally is do the work. This is not the same type of work I've done in the past, but I still take ownership and accountability for everything I do. We say what you put into the program is what you will get out. Over the course of the year, we complete a variety of long-term, very hands-on projects and teams. In Evolutions, there is no splitting up by subjects. Each unit focuses on 2 aspects from the core disciplines, English, science, art, and social studies, and combines the learning into one big cohesive project. We started off our year with UNIT, an independent unit dedicated to examining our own identities as well as learning about each other. The first collaborative project was Hidden Gems. We learned about vernal pools and public art through lots of fieldwork and displayed our knowledge by creating a window design proposal. In Design with a Y, our teams researched a goal from the United Nations list of 17 sustainable goals to design a shoe, apparel line, and marketing campaign. Throughout the process, we got to work alongside with different individuals at New Balance. To complete the first semester, we took a step away from group work and had the opportunity to conduct an individual research project on the subject of our choosing. This is known as Midstone and will be followed by Capstone later in the year. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of Evolutions.
So as you can kind of hear, right, we really try to give students a different approach to how they think about their education. Part of this is like thinking about all the years they've been through Wellesley and all of the awesome opportunities they've had to do academics and build skills and maybe touch on some of the electives. Now they're thinking about the second half, right, 11th and 12th grade, where they want to go from there. And how can they think about being, again, a more well-rounded student in certain ways, right? Maybe it's a way of them fostering a sense of independence and choice. Maybe it's figuring out how to work together. Maybe it's the idea of, hey, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I just need to explore some different things. So how do we take a lot of the awesome skills that they have and give them a new place to maybe push themselves in areas or be recognized? Hey, I am good at doing that already. I just need a place to start to build it. Part of, that's going to hit the video.
Evolutions.
Always do it. And part of this is just like our philosophy of really putting students at the center of what we do, the experiential and active learning part, right? We do this in a bunch of different ways. Again, we're a program, not just one course. That gives us a little bit of flexibility in terms of our schedule and how often we can get out of the building, or who we can bring into the building, or time to work on different things. So again, giving us the space and time to say, if we want to go canvass out in Linden Center to figure out like what does the community think about the election, we go and have the time to do that. We can walk over and interact with the community members. Or we can contact experts to bring them in here, right? So our students can have, not just be presented to, but have a dialogue with these awesome people in our community. Maybe it's the bigger ones, like we're going into Boston looking at public art, right? And it's kind of saying, because then they have to make public art. So let's go look at real world examples, how they're meant to be around the place. Sometimes it's just having the opportunity to like go bond together by like, let's go hike Blue Hills, to have the metaphor of like, how do we address a challenge together, right? Oh, it's this Blue Hills, it's easy. And then they're like hiking up the scrambles, Sam remembers this, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a lot harder than I thought, right? And it's like, yeah, and we have the time and space to go do that, but also do it together as a community, right? And kind of take advantage of us building that with all of these, it's again, get the students doing more, right? And have them not just be passive, like I'm on this, they come to school every day, right? How are they seeing themselves as making choices, doing things, reflecting on things, and interacting with the world around them?
I think also because of the nature of our schedule and we're meeting 2-3 blocks a day, we have opportunity to get outside of the building. And so Tom identified for you some of those opportunities. In the upper right-hand corner, we partnered with New Balance for a project called Design with a Y. Our students worked in groups of 3 or 4 and they researched a social cause that they felt passionate about. We partnered with New Balance and our students met 2 separate times Zoom with different consultants and workers at New Balance that instructed them in their design and apparel design. And then we had the opportunity to bring our students to the shoe factory in Lawrence, where they then pitched their their pitches back to New Balance. That picture right there in the middle is them in front of that giant screen in this amazing facility in Lawrence. And so to be able to bring our students in the areas, and again, the schedule allows us to be able to do that and to bring our students out to kind of enrich their experiences. Throughout the year, we walk them through, there's typically about 6-7 units a year. 4 to 5 of those units are directed for myself, Tom, and the 2 other teachers that are in the program, a science and an art teacher in that program. And we direct the direction of that. So Joie was that first one that I was telling you about, which was that shoe design, where we give the students the structure and we explain to them what that project is going to be about. And we walk them through that and using, again, the skills and content from those 4 different disciplines that we teach. They have 2 opportunities to do an independent project, and that's during the midstone and capstone. So we just did our midstone project. That was last Friday. We had that in the cafeteria. So maybe some of you had an opportunity to attend. We invite community members, but also parents are able to come, and students are able to really direct what's most interesting for them and walk through the process of learning, and then they're able to express their understanding in a way. And again, all very guided by us throughout that structure. But really students begin from beginning to end to direct the process. And so much of, I'd say, the teaching that happens outside, teachers are guiding them in every process. And here students are really being able to independently manage a lot of these things and also working collaboratively with teams to try to solve problems and create processes and eventually projects and products that they can share publicly.
And the beauty of like the teacher-driven projects, as Crystal was saying, is that we as the teachers really get to think about like what's the content and skills from our subject areas, and then put them in these authentic ways, right? So for the English, again, they had to make documentaries this fall, right? And so we kind of think about how do you communicate through video, how do you make a story, how do you make that arc, and then how you're doing that video piece. Maybe we'd have students, I keep going back to Sam. Sam has been in TV video for years, so that when he did this project last year, it's like, oh, I have this place to apply these skills with this new content, right? So that might be, again, a place for students to say, like, I have this outside thing, and now I have a place that people will see it and want to do it. Or our current project, which is the bottom left, is our Community Joy Project, where just yesterday we were with the Tolles Parsons Center. We matched up with seniors, and they interviewed seniors for 45 minutes about their life, right? And so they developed interview questions, learn how to interview, have those interactions, and now they're taking those, and they combine them together, and they have to basically create, in a small team, a comedic sketch that's going to, again, go back and retell or honor those lives, those stories that they have, and they perform it back on stage. So this might
to the seniors back.
So this might be a place of like, as a student, like I was like, I would never do that, I would never do that. But now we're doing it in a structured way, in a supportive way that maybe students don't know what they're good at or what they want to do until we give them that nudge and challenge to say, let's do this together. Let's get you supported, let's give you experts, let's give you feedback. So again, the beauty of projects is it honoring the skills they have, or is it pushing them to maybe do some of these authentic, challenging skills in a place that is structured as we go through? Same thing with that midstone and capstone. If you think fast forward to the end of their high school career, if you want them to be self-directed learners, right? They can figure out, this is what I'm curious about, this is how I can go learn about it, this is what I can make with it. Where's the opportunity for them to practice those skills, right? Again, we want to make sure that they have that space to say, like, I know I'm really good at finding inspiration, but I'm not good at like doing the research. I need help there. I'm really good at researching, but I can never figure out my idea, right? I have all this content, but I have no idea how to show it, right? So again, we intentionally try to give them the space to build that capacity up and skill up, so they leave this district with like, hey, I have all these tools in my toolbox. I can go out in the world and do some stuff with it.
I think for this one and talking about that, like intentional efforts to improve skills is with this collaboration. And so For the majority of our project, all those teacher-directed projects, our students work collaboratively in teams. And a lot of what it is that we focus on in our program is teaching our students how to effectively collaborate in a team. I don't think I was ever taught this. I had to figure it out when I became a professional teacher and started to work on teams. How was it that I was able to access my strengths within a team? How was I able to help other team members? And a lot of the work that we do in program is teaching students how to work with one another and holding each other accountable for it. And they really rise to the occasion because students really care about what the other students think about more than what a lot of times the teachers think about. And so giving them opportunity to really intentionally practice these skills are not only going to enhance their ability when they go back to regular classes and doing different group work, also at the collegiate level and then obviously at the professional level when they're working on teams trying to solve problems.
And other than the small teams, it's how do we create that community space that they feel like they can come in and be their authentic selves, but also get to know, hear all the other people in here. So I can make a mistake, and I know that Crystal isn't gonna think this really about me, right? So how do we intentionally build a sense of community? We come to this place 180 days a year. We want them to know who each other are and how to value each other and how to support each other, right? How to build and foster that sense of community that then makes that teamwork possible. The other part is just like we really try to get out into our community and give back, right? Is it volunteering with the NRC to paint animal tracks on the boardwalk or help plant trees for the tree initiative? Is it going to the Toles Parsons Center? So getting students to also understand that they're just not in it for them, right? We're all part of a larger community and we each can give back to each other and help each other as we go, right? It's just kind of making sure that they have that realization that what they do on a daily basis can matter, not just to them, but to those around them. Chris was talking about where does this kind of lead? People always ask this question. This all sounds great, but what about college, right? Again, we've been doing this for 10 years. We've had, I want to say about 400 students through our program at this point in time. On the left is just looking at like where are the top colleges that any WHS student goes to, right? They actually agree to go. And then on the right, here's our same data, and there's so much crossover, right? So joining Evolutions isn't like, oh, it's going to hinder my college acceptance, right? They're WHS students. They're coming through this giant system with all these great teachers and all these abilities. Colleges look at them as whole individuals, right? We're just now a part of that story. And for our students, typically they can say, I actually have stuff to write my college essay about. You put me in front of somebody and I can tell them exactly what I did and what I learned about myself and what I'm bringing to your campus. Because they're at the center of everything we do, right? And so in terms of like, well, what about college? We have lots of different stories. And again, this is where every student is individual. They have their own choices, they have their own journeys of where they're gonna go. This isn't just a one-size-fits-all, this is where we all need to go, right? So it's really thinking about what their journey is and how we can kind of get them there. Again, we've had so many people in the past go through our program. We don't have time to like read through slides, but in terms of like our alumni going through the value that they've had years after in terms of what we offer and working with each other or personal growth, or Jeff from New Balance talking about like, hey, I see you guys are helping your students learn the skills that I wish some of my designers were working on right now, right? So how are we giving them a leg up to go off in this world and be more prepared to do this? It's a lot of information. So, just to summarize, we're a one-year program, right? So students join us for 1 year, it's either their junior or their senior year. As Crystal said, we mix together English, science, social studies, and art. That's the four blocks. They still have time to take classes outside, right? A lot of them are taking a math, a world language, maybe it's an LC, maybe it's an extra science, or it's a US history class, or it's an elective, right? So it doesn't take up their entire schedule. We are honors credit for all 4 courses, right? Because again, we're challenging students to approach learning in a very different way. And when we're assessing them, we're assessing on skills that maybe they haven't necessarily been assessed on in previous classes. Your ability to give feedback, your ability to understand why you're doing this, your ability to make a video. So again, it's a new kind of skill set that we spend the year working with them on. But again, it's challenging for them. They just can't approach school in the same way that they did before. And we heard about, again, some example projects. These roughly stay the same. They change a little bit on what our availability is each year as we kind of go through. There's lots of places to get more information, right? So we have a website you can go to. It's in the program of studies as well. You can always email us questions. Our students have taken over our social media, so they're sharing what a day in the life of Evolutions is like. You can always follow us there and see what they're putting up there. After break, we have some opportunities, as Meg was saying, like we're going into all sophomore seminars and talking with them, so they have an opportunity to talk straight to the student, right, without us. Hey, what's the real story? For you guys, on Tuesday, March 4th, we run an evening event. At 6:30. It's going to be virtual, so it's going to be on Google Meet, and we run basically this presentation, but it's about 45 minutes. It's a little bit more in depth. Like I'm sure again, there's going to be questions like, well, what about this and how about that? We usually have student voices there. We have other parent voices there, just so that everyone knows like this is an option and what information might you need to make a decision, right, or help your kiddo make a decision. All this stuff is typically on our website, right? And so if you go to our website, you'll see this page. It will talk about, oh, here's the family info. Here's where the student drop-in sessions are. Typically, we offer a parent-to-parent one, right? Go talk to other EVO alumni parents or current parents. Hear what their experience is like with us, right? As we go through. There is an application. It's pretty, I don't want to say straightforward. It's just to allow us to sign up for 4 classes at the same time, right? So it's the instructions are up there. The application's up there. It's the same deadline of March 14th as everything else. So again, all that stuff is there. Oh my gosh, our time is up.
Now you have a minute. I don't know if there's any quick questions for.
What's the difference between honors credit versus regular credit?
So this is more of like how it gets calculated on GPA.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Difference between honors credit and like ACP credit.
Yes, so there is no difference in terms of credit awarded for the course. It's just how it goes into our GPA. So we have a weighted system into the GPA. So we have 3 different scales. So an unweighted scale with a GPA A being a 4 is our CP, our college prep scale. And then our ACP classes have a 4.5 as an A, so they get an extra half point. And then our honors classes are out of a 5, so they get an extra full point. But in terms of credits assigned for the courses towards our 136 for graduation, it is all the same, all of our classes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Okay, I see Mike Reedy here from Social Studies and some teachers. A couple of colleagues that came, which is awesome. And you had slides too? Do you want that?
I know, we're going to work off hard copy, and I shared the,
You did share it, so
I shared the link.
Yep, I did put it on there and I'll have it on our site.
Awesome, and it's on our website.
Awesome. Do you want me to, I can hand those out. Yeah. Hi, friends.
Right now it is, but we don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, everybody's name.
Take one picture. Tiny font. I appreciate the tiny font.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. You're up. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out this morning. I'm Mike Reedy. I'm the Department Head for Social Studies. I've been in this role now for 16 years and at Wellesley Public Schools for 30 years.
Both you and that presentation are like a hard thing to follow. My name's Erin Sullivan. I've been teaching here at Wellesley for 10 years, but this is my 15th year of teaching. And I've taught at the Social Studies Department 9th, 11th, and multiple 12th grade elective classes.
I'm Zach Nickel. This is my 13th year, and I teach U.S. history with Erin, and then I teach mostly 9th graders. So I have 3 sections of 9th graders.
Thank you both
Yeah.
for joining me today and taking up on the invitation to be here to answer some questions you have and also talk about some important elements of the course selection process. So we're hoping to be able to do a few things in our time together. Love to be able to give an overview of our program, right? That'll kind of have me talk specifically to the handout that we provided, but also give you a sense of what we're doing with your students within the course selection process. And I think both Erin and Zach will bring some expertise on that, especially given the different age groups that they're working with right now this year, and then close with some questions. All right, so first off, just to kind of provision yourself with the handout, the top half roughly identifies what courses are available at each grade level, and where you see repetition in some of those courses, that's because those courses that, if they're listed for a second time, they just remain available for students once they became available for those students. So you can see where your student is in the progression, whether it's 8th into 9th, 9th into 10th, so on and so forth, in terms of what's available. the bottom half of the document identifies a few important notes to consider when looking at the top half. And I'm not going to go through all of those, but I think there are a couple of those that are worth highlighting here as a way to then talk about a few of the specifics within the table itself and the columns themselves. So first off, we have a 2.5-year graduation requirement in social studies. All right, so most students at Wellesley High will exceed that in terms of that minimum. And they would, the minimum would essentially be US history, which is a core district and state requirement, alongside of another survey and or elective offerings that students age into. But as I said, most will enroll in 9th grade world history, in 10th grade world history, in US history at the 11th grade, and then move into our elective program in the 12th grade. So that's the most typical progression that students will go through here. So, but 2.5 years is the minimum to be aware of. The second thing is that we have no tracking or prerequisites in the social studies department. And I really want to dwell on that or pause on that for a moment, because it's important to know that as students make decisions about the level that they're going to take in 9th grade, it's not determining what's going to be available for them in 12th. We have level movement year over year, right, between levels, all right? More typically than not, it's a single level removed from wherever a student might be enrolled rather than 2 levels removed. But we have had students take courses at every single level in our school and succeed at every single level in our school in their particular 4 years of high school. All right, so really important just to note that when you see courses listed, there isn't something that is required beforehand, whether that's level or course. All right. The asterisk on that, if there is one, would be we strongly recommend that students take 9th grade world history. That has always been important in terms of the way in which we're trying to teach particular skills in a cumulative way. And not taking history in 9th grade means that they're going to be moving into a 10th grade experience absent some of that instruction in core skill areas, which we wouldn't want for students. And it becomes, I think, more important, and I'm talking to anyone in the room that has a rising 9th grader, or anybody that watches on video that has a rising 9th grader, with one of our new courses that we're offering next year. So next year, 10th graders are able to take AP World Modern, and that is offered alongside of World History, Modern World History 10H. So we are offering both. And the reason why I'm saying it's probably worth considering your students' experience, the way that we're developing that curriculum right now, it taps into the experience that students would have in 9th grade on a content management level. Because the AP course, it's a 1-year course that essentially will cover or examine content that we typically examine in our 2-year course, our 2-year 9th and 10th grade courses. So missing out on 9th grade will essentially be removing coverage of material that would then be present in 10th if enrolling in the AP World Modern. So that's just an extra kind of pitch for take 9th grade world history. It helps students set up for their success moving forward. All right, so that's one of our new courses next year. Another course that's coming back into the offerings is philosophy. That was rotated out this past year. And just a quick aside on that, a lot of our semester-long offerings are often singletons. There's just one section based on the requests that we get. And in order to maintain that kind of robust set of offerings and still hit a required number of enrolled requested students, we'll phase a course out within a 2-year run. And it's Contemporary Global Problems' turn to be phased out and philosophy is coming back in. So that's why you see the cross out through contemporary global problems as not being offered next year. We anticipate that coming back in 26, 27, and philosophy coming back into the fold 25, 26. So I wanted to highlight a couple bullets as a way to speak to a few of the courses, that which is, those courses that are new and the one that's going away for next year. And then the last thing to mention before we get into your students' experiences and kind of managing the course selection process is we'll be talking about surveys and we'll be talking about electives, right? Both satisfy the graduation requirement that I mentioned before. But our survey courses are year-long, and there's going to be 2 years of world history that we offer, 1 year of U.S. history that we offer. That's what the document's referring to when we talk about our survey courses, and then the rest are our elective offerings. And still satisfy the social studies requirement, whether it's year-long or semester. All right, so that's a really quick, broad brush of our program. So that we're obviously, you've seen different presenters, we're working within a timeline right now where course selection is upon us. And in March, you and your students will have access to the portal where they're making decisions around the courses that they want to take. Working backwards from that, to get them ready for that moment to work within the portal, our teachers are going to be conferencing with students when we come back from February vacation. They're going to have one-on-one conversations with your student about the recommendation that they're making for them the following year and what they would then see in the portal. They're also going to be talking prior to that, and probably in real time like today, tomorrow, Friday, possibly even earlier this week, about the different levels, the ways to distinguish between the different levels, the types of work that they would do at a CP, ACP, honors, or AP option, which is my last, sorry, I left something out on the document. We also tried to provide sample assignments for you to review in the grade 9 column and in the grade 10 column. So obviously on the hard copy you can't get there from there, but those links are active on the PTSO agenda. They're also on the Social Studies Department website. And we put together some sample homework assignments for students when reading about new material that they might engage with in order to make an informed decision about their strengths, how they feel about the work that they're doing, what they might need to manage on their own in advance of class. So those links are, I think, important for our younger students moving from 8 to 9 and 9 into 10. I think maybe I'll pause here to let my colleagues talk about the ways in which they're working with students.
I'll let Zach go first, because Zach teaches predominantly 9th grade and I teach predominantly 11th grade, so that feels...
So predominantly 9th grade, I'm explaining it to them today and tomorrow. I teach honors, so we're primarily talking about the difference between honors 10 and AP 10, and then also what ACP is compared to those. I always try to frame it to them that I'm not trying to shatter any hopes and dreams. So if I think the recommendation is ACP, it's I'm not criticizing you in any way. I'm just saying I think you need that extra support. And then if they're interested in the honors and AP, I just give them, I will give them, because I've never done the AP before, but I'll give them my thoughts based on what I've seen in terms of where they have had successes and what they need to work on, and then they'll ultimately tell me which one they'd like. And yeah, I think that's 9th grade summed up.
Cool. I teach 3 sections of US history, ACP, and then Zach and I teach USCP together. A little different. US and the teachers that teach US really try to focus on, for a lot of our kids coming through the social studies department, US is sometimes our last class. They choose not to take electives as seniors. And so we really want to hone in on them feeling very confident in crafting their own argument when they leave us, whether that be junior year or senior year. So we spend a lot of time around finding the right evidence or providing all the facts, because the facts are there, And what you choose to do with those facts and how you craft an argument and how you support that argument is what's really important to us. I'm not saying this as a blanket statement, but for a lot of us and at multiple times of the year, a lot of our assessments are open notes and or are multiple day because we live in the 21st century with Google, so memorizing every president is not necessary anymore. So what does the school really want to focus on is with that information in front of you, how are you using it? And so that's really what our junior year is focusing on. In regards to moving into senior year, I have taught multiple of these classes, and I'm actually going to take a list because I've taught Discovering Psych, I've taught Sociology, I've taught Contemporary Global Problems. And what I love about senior electives, specifically in the history department, is like any CP, ACP, or honors kids can take our electives. And all of those electives I just named, I had CP kids, and they were taking it for ACP credit, and they thrived. Because the class is really about putting kids in places of interest, and not to steal Evo's, but if they're curious in it, they're gonna succeed in it. And all of the teachers within the department know how to teach at all those levels. And what I really like about our elective senior year is that it's really for some of our seniors, or for a lot of our kids, the only heterogeneous class they're really ever in. So it's really the only time they're in a class with CP, ACP, honor, AP kids, because they're just like interested in sociology. And so once they get to the class, they can choose whether it's ACP or honors credit, and that looks different in like the amount of assignments you do. But I thoroughly enjoy teaching senior electives because it's really a chance for seniors to just kind of like take a deep breath, because they're not high pressured classes. They're there really to craft an interest. And maybe you want to take sociology in college. Maybe you want to take an intro class to psych. They're really there to help facilitate kids' curiosity, and they are really different from a lot of our kids who have genuinely been in one type of class. Does that feel, any questions?
Well, can I
Oh, yeah.
give a high-level summary before
Sure.
we open up for questions? I think you heard both of them talking about, in different degrees, interest that students have in the subject matter or their curiosity. I think the kind of demonstrated ability and want to invest into, I think, our three core essential skills of reading, watching, and listening to understand, with a heavy emphasis on the reading side. The students will be doing a lot of reading on their own. We want to develop and refine those skills. They're going to be doing that, in their own times and spaces at home. That's important as a consideration. Thinking historically is something that is important to all of our, obviously our history survey classes, but also our other social science classes, and then communicating persuasively and narratively. And so the degree to which your student needs in-class support, continued opportunities to kind of refine or revise work. Conversely, to do that work more independently than not, or manage readings more independently than not. Those would be good markers to be talking to your student about at home. How did you feel when tackling that reading? Tell me about it. And having them be able to engage in that process, because I think that's what's going to be coming through the work that they're doing and that they were highlighting in their work with students this week and next. Let alone every day, those skills are infused in our courses. So what questions are out there? Yeah.
Can you talk about the difference between the AP US history and the honors US history, and how to think about whether your student is able to do one or the other?
Sure. If it's also all right, I think much of what I'm saying about AP US, outside of the material that's being examined, is also true for the AP World Modern and 10H decisions. So, but specifically in terms of AP US versus US honors, both are going to have nightly homework. I think you want to have that as a starting point. It never stops in AP. I mean, there's really like maybe a very small handful of nights where there isn't an assignment and the assignments are long. So I think that kind of constant drumbeat of high amounts of work, like volume of work. It is one significant difference between the two classes. Just the chronological scope of the two courses is dramatically different too. So the AP course will reach back into the 1400s, and our Honors US will more or less pick up with the Constitution, the Constitution, or immediately following the American Revolution. So you're talking about a few hundred years of difference in terms of the amount that's going to be covered. So flipping that, I think there's opportunities for more depth, to pursue more depth with the more compressed chronology in the United States History Honors course. The other really important variable, and I appreciate what Erin was talking about in terms of, you know, Google and looking things up. The AP requires you to know an awful lot and recall and manage an awful lot in real time, right? And when I say real time, in time settings, the course is designed to help kids practice for that, because the course is designed to help kids succeed on the exam and thus potentially earn some type of credit post-high school, you know, for that course. So I think big differences in the lived experience at home in terms of the amount of work that students will be doing at home, the types of work that they're doing both at home and in class, and in the material itself that is covered. The AP is pretty prescribed. Our U.S. History Honors is thematically taught. And so that also creates difference in terms of what might be studied. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and given that this year there is no AP World, but the honor students seem to be gearing up to take the AP test. So how do you
talking like right now?
Yes,
or?
like right now. So how do you, as a student in that environment, to think about that as they can handle AP or they can handle honors? Because it's hard to know when you say the workload is
Sure. So
heavy.
just so I can be clear, are you talking about 9th grade honor students that are practicing some of those skills? Or 10th grade honors that are practicing some of those skills moving forward?
The 10th grade honor students who are not in AP because there is none,
Right.
but they seem to be gearing toward taking the AP test, at least having the option of it. That's the message we got at back to school night, that they, so how do we think about if there, is that the type of workload that we're talking about for AP US, or is it significantly more? Or maybe can you quantify how much?
That's going to be, I think, difficult for me to quantify. I'd say it's probably more similar than different, but my belief is it will be not as much. 10th grade would be not as much as 11th because of the explicit purpose that exists right now in 11th within an existing curriculum. You know, the 10th grade is still, I think, has attention to where kids are developmentally, as well as the fact that it's not an AP course, but is trying to at least provide that optionality for students by the end of the year.
Thank you.
So for the weight under the weighted credit system, is the AP, does the AP have the same as
Correct.
the honor?
It does. That's true at both the next year at the 10th grade level and at the 11th grade level. The school will credit them the same.
What is the survey courses? Do they go out to survey other people or?
Oh,
No.
Sorry, I can speak to that. So I teach survey courses, and it's really, you could think about them as like intro courses or 101 courses. So I'm tasked with teaching all of U.S. history in 10 months. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do that. So it's really just like an overview or a survey of that content. So we start, like Mike said, kind of with the Constitution, and we bring it to current day, but we do not focus on every element of U.S. history. We can't. So it's a survey. Just like 9th World is a survey course or 10 World is a survey. It's just a word to say like it's an intro course or a 101 course. Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
I think I saw you.
We're probably time for one more because we have to move on to
Sorry,
the next thing.
do you have a sense of what percentage of students take 4 years of history in Wellesley?
I do have a sense, but it's not a number that that I'm certain of right now. I don't know, do you have that stat?
Well, I don't have the offhand. I would say that the vast majority take 3, or I'd even say 3.5.
Yeah.
And then, but in terms of 4 full years, I don't know, I might guess 30%.
Yeah, and then if I was in the 3.5 realm, the vast majority, I feel like the numbers have toggled between mid-80s and over 90%, but that depends on
Of the 3.5, yeah.
on the 3.5.
So majority of kids take 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
vast majority of
overwhelming
students will
majority.
take 3.5.
Thank you.
That's a fair statement.
So for the rising 9th graders going to 10th grade taking world history, my son is Mr. Nickel. He is, wondering, is it going to be similar to the workload he has right now in 9th grade for honors history if he takes honors, and then AP is just going to be like another level of difficulty, or is it more like the preparation for the test, so they're going to do more of the test prep?
I think the 10H would be a jump up in terms of the amount of homework from 9H,
Okay.
and then the AP would be another jump up from that in terms of the amount of work that a student might be doing at home. I think some of that honestly has to do with some of the complexity in the material that exists in the 1800s through the present. When we look at the modern world history course, there's just conceptually some principles and ideologies that take a while to unpack and that are more complicated for students to manage. So I think that's a variable too in terms of that step up. I am available for more questions about your learner at home. At the bottom of the document, I provided my email as well as my phone extension. I think talking on the phone was probably going to be better if you have further questions that you want to ask. I also think your current teacher is a terrific resource to ask about questions that you have about your learner, because they will know your student better than I don't know your student, right? So I can talk on a macro level about the courses, but they're really good about talking about what they've seen from your student over time. But please reach out. My information's there, and I know you have your teacher information too. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
all
guys.
of you for coming. Thank you. All right, we have Colin Shattuck here who has a class going on, so he's probably going to move a little quickly. through
Apologies,
his
Mr.
presentation.
Shattuck.
That's okay. Yeah. Questions are important. Colin, I can pass those out.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have some.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. It's a warm up.
You pass it on to the next.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Colin Shattuck. Those who don't know me, I'm an assistant principal here, and I also serve as a department head for the Family and Consumer Science Department. So I'll tell you a little bit about the program we have in our department, the courses we have available. I think Family and Consumer Science departments can look different from school to school, but there essentially are 3 umbrellas that our courses fall into: culinary arts, early childhood development and education, and business. So what you have in front of you is a really quick hitter of those courses that just describes, it gives the name of the course and how the length of the course. It's either quarter, semester, or full year. That variety of length of courses is great. It allows us to teach things like joy of cooking and food culture and society and intro to child development at a quarter at a time. So if your student's schedule doesn't quite fit up for this quarter, there's no availability there's a good chance down the road they may be able to sneak into that course. These are our wonderful family and consumer science teachers and the classes that they teach. They are certainly the experts in their content. I'll do my best to answer content-related questions, but I'll be sure to connect you with them if you have further questions about the classes we offer. Important to know that there isn't currently a family consumer science graduation requirement. All of our courses are elective, and yet the electives remain really popular among students grades 9 through 12. So I'll talk a little about those courses and do my best to answer questions. John, if you would, thank you. Starting with our culinary arts classes. There they are. Yep. So, as I mentioned, popular elective courses, these are two of our most popular electives, probably in the entire school, if I had to guess. Our Joy of Cooking and our Food Culture and Society courses. Both of them have a very strong emphasis on teaching your children how to cook and how to cook safely, right? Which is obviously a skill that we want them to have for years down the road after they graduate Wellesley High School. Can't live on takeout forever. I know you can't. Try, it doesn't work. So having those skills are really critical. The Food Culture and Society piece puts a nice emphasis on certain food significance within a culture and within a society, what it means to them, the history of it. But both of them, Tom Demon, the teacher, tries to have kids cooking almost every day if he can. And these electives fill up really fast. If you have a current 8th grader, don't be discouraged about maybe not getting into this class right away. There's a good chance there'll be a seat at some point, and certainly down the road. But Tom cares an awful lot about this work and does a great job with these kids. A class that we haven't run in a while but still available is a culinary arts seminar. This is for students who really find a passion in perhaps pursuing food services as a post-secondary path. They engage in a semester-long restaurant development project where they do everything that it would take to get a restaurant and build it from the ground up, from the type of menu, where it would be located, how you would advertise it. I'd love to see that run, but it would need someone who's kind of taking these courses and say, you know, I really want to push my learning further in this area, and we could offer that to that student. Thanks, John. Our early childhood development and child ed courses, our two quarter-length electives are Intro to Child Development and Teaching Young Children. Students typically take these courses for two reasons. One is because they have a genuine interest in the topic. The second is because these are the prerequisites to get into our child lab. So Wellesley High School has a fully operational preschool that serves 18 children, I should say, ages 3, 4, and 5. And those who are in the child study lab class get to work very directly with those kids, supporting them, nurturing them, building relationships with them, engaging in activities with them. This place is full of joy. And when I need a little joy, I just pop down there for a few minutes, I instantly feel better. Those who are really serious about perhaps pursuing childhood education as a post-secondary path may be recommended for our intensive program, and that's for our seniors who work really closely with Ms. Markinot and Ms. Bender to develop activities, to really do a deeper dive into what it takes to have a nurturing preschool like we have, so they take on a lot more responsibility with that. Today at 1 p.m. is our annual play, The Mitten. That will be how I get my joy today. So if you're around at 1, check out the Child Lab. They'll be putting on a wonderful performance. It should be great. I'll say, John. I won't go through every business class we have. We have a lot, but the Program of Studies is a great resource for those details, but I will talk about a couple of them. I want to pitch Intro to Yearbook a little bit. For any student who's interested in photojournalism, this is a really great chance to get some of that experience, to building a yearbook from start to finish. So if you are someone who may be interested in what it takes to be a part of the yearbook, you can take it as a quarter class, or yearbook design and production can be taken as a semester-long class where you just have a heavier hand in building the yearbook. And that's everything from designing the cover, to designing the layout, to taking thousands of photographs that represent our teams and our clubs and our people in a really remarkable way. If you've ever seen our yearbook, it's a work of art. It's beautiful, and they do a lot of great work to make it so. Our advertising and marketing class is this is the one business class that's really available for 9th graders to get started. So for our rising 9th graders who are interested in business, I would recommend getting started with a class like this. They learn the fundamentals of marketing and advertising, and serves as a stepping stone to other more advanced business courses down the road, which I'll get to right now. Speaking of stepping stone, I would think this class, Business, Entrepreneurship, and Economics, is probably as close to a prerequisite as we have for AP Economics. It's not technically a prereq, but we highly recommend students take this course to lay the foundation if they're interested in AP Econ as a 12th grader, or even an 11th grader if there are seats available. That's our one AP course. It comes with the same rigor that you would expect from any AP course in any department, and getting some good exposure to that work in this class is a really good idea. Our retail management course, these students help our school store to operate. In fact, they run the whole thing. Our school store is the Cove. They do everything from designing the merchandise to figuring out price points to advertising all of the merchandise that they are able to order. So anyone who's interested in this field, this is a great place to get some real hands-on experience in that field. Thanks, John. These are more of our upper level business courses. We have our global marketing class. It's a full year class for grades 10 to 12. And our two senior classes are finance and investments, where students learn the basics of personal finance, but also advance that learning by learning things about how to invest responsibly. And for any student who maybe has a post-secondary vision to pursue business or finance or economics, these are really good courses that set them up for that path. And as I mentioned before, AP Econ, this is our AP course. The purpose of this course is to have students ready for that AP Econ test. If any students are hoping to pursue business school or that path down the road, this is absolutely a great course to take. It's very popular. And it's nice that there are no hard prerequisites for it. For students who may not have taken an AP course before but have some interest in business, it can be a really good entry point to that level of rigor that many of them will be experiencing when they're in college next year or beyond. Okay, good. And I always feel selfish doing this, but I'm going to give this class its own slide. This is actually the class that I'm going to teach as soon as I fly out of here. We just started this course a couple weeks ago. So the Science of Happiness and Well-Being stems from a course called Psychology in the Good Life that was taught at Yale starting a few years ago. It quickly became Yale's most popular course ever. More students took this course than any course in Yale's history. And because of its popularity, the teacher, Dr. Lori Santos, designed a course called the Science and Happiness and Well-Being geared towards high school students. We've taken that curriculum and personalized it to the Wellesley High School experience to help teach students at Wellesley High School to empower themselves to take control of their happiness and well-being. And this course offers a lot of things people can do on a daily basis. It helps rewire mindsets. In a place like Wellesley where stress can be overwhelming, where we're always concerned with our students' well-being, it's great for students to know there are things they can do on a daily basis to improve that and make happiness seem like less of a fleeting thing that the lucky people have and something you can actually have some control over. We're in week 3 right now. We just started our daily gratitude and meditative practices yesterday. It's a little strange, I think, for some of them. They haven't done these things, but I expect the long-term effects to be positive. So encourage your students to check this course out. It's only a quarter length, so it's not a huge ask within their schedule. But I'm glad it's here, and we're looking forward to helping keep it grow as time goes on.
How about your co-teacher, too?
And I have a great co-teacher who's actually holding on for right now. So Sam Ringel is one of our school psychologists. Yes, well, everybody does. Yes, yeah, he is great. And he's done a nice job. And a lot of the course is actually looking at research that's been done. So he's very helpful in kind of helping students explain what comes from this research. What does this graph mean? What does this research tell us? And when we identify that, we figure out how to apply what we know and what we learn from that research to our own lives. Yeah. I flew through that somewhat intelligently. I'm sorry, but I do want to pause. If anyone has any questions about anything at all, happy to do my best to answer.
Does the class fill up?
Not yet. So we're just launching. So we have 14 students now. And well, we have the cap around like 25 students, so there will be spots. And if there are more than that, we can consider running it more than 2 quarters. Because right now it's just running 3rd quarter for the first time. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your attention. Okay.
Thank you. Our wonderful president has to peace out to go teach a class. So,
awesome.
I'm
so bad.
we have Kevin and Lauren from Performing Arts.
And I want to thank Colin because the segue from Science of Happiness and Well-Being into us talking about the performing
Couldn't
arts
be better,
is
right?
spectacular.
Yeah,
Right,
Oh, John's going to help.
John, amazing. Thank you so much.
We're here to help.
Hi everybody, I'm Lauren Saracino. I'm the Interim Performing Arts Director, and I have been here for just a little under 2 weeks, which is why I phoned a friend, and I brought Dr. McDonald along with me to help make sure that the information I give you is accurate, and it's also why I don't know how to connect my computer to this screen. So I would like to thank John for giving me a hand with that. In getting acquainted in my position, I spent some time talking with a lot of folks, including all of the teachers and directors in the department. And one thing that was said to me really stuck out to me. In a conversation with Steve Scott, who's our director of bands here at the high school, he said he really thinks of his classes as being an oasis in a child's school day. And that's something that's really sort of stuck out and stuck with me. And I totally stole it and threw it up here as kind of something I anchor myself in every day. I think that performing arts can offer students sort of a soft place to land. In addition to all of the great things we know that it does for development and 21st century skills in critical thinking and collaboration and creativity, those things are all super embedded and inherent in all of this coursework. And we've got a very robust program here with lots of different offerings and lots of different options for a variety of backgrounds and levels of skill, whether it's your first time ever wanting to sing in a group or play an instrument, or you've had tons of acting experience and you're part of programs outside of school, or you've never set foot on a stage before at all. I can personally tell you that a little bit of background in acting makes talking to a group of strangers feel a lot less uncomfortable. So even if it's not something your child maybe thinks of themselves as being an actor, it's a very valuable skill, I think, for them to acquire. So these courses are really open to anyone from any level of experience. And I kind of arranged them for you here, and I'll make sure you all get this. Into acting, our band program, our orchestra program, and our vocal music program. And we do have a couple of classroom music offerings as well. Anything that requires an audition has a little asterisk next to it. And many of these classes can be co-enrolled, so if they're happening at the same time, you'll see in the portal and the program of studies that it says you could be in Symphonia and 1 o'clock jazz band. And we work those out between the directors. So we have a little bit of a rebranding that our acting department is going through, where we're retitling the classes and changing a little bit of who maybe they're open to. So Acting 1 is going to transition to be called Foundations of Acting and Improv. Acting 2 is going to be called Actors Workshop, and so on. Almost all of our acting classes, at least those 2, are open to any student in any grade level. As you get into the 3rd and 4th levels, they do start to have a prerequisite of the classes prior. Band, we have concert band, and that also has an intensive component that's available for seniors. Almost all of our ensembles do have that. That's a non-auditioned. Wind ensemble is an auditioned ensemble. We have a jazz band that's non-auditioned and open to everyone, and the 2 o'clock jazz band, which is audition required. Similarly, the orchestra has Symphonia, open to everyone, and Honors Chamber Orchestra, that one requires an audition. And our vocal music program, I'm just going to let Kevin talk because he's the expert on it.
So we have three classes that are open for everybody: concert choir, overtones, and subharmonics. So we can hit all voices in exactly where they want to in their school day and in their level of commitment. Then we have 2 select ensembles: the keynote singers and the Rice Street Singers. Something that is in addition to all of this is all of our after-school offerings and what can use this as a launching pad. So we have our a cappella groups, we have an improv troupe, we have if anyone went to see Anything Goes just this past weekend. We have lots of things rolling both in and out of the school day. The one thing that I would add to what Lauren has said, we can list all of our course offerings. But the question is, why do we take the performing arts, right? And something that I always feel is that our world in the performing arts represents all of Wellesley High School. It goes right to our 4 core values. If you want to talk about academic excellence, well, let's talk about how Wind Ensemble and HCO has swept gold medals each time. Let's talk about the Rice Street Singers getting gold medals for the last 15 years at State Festival. Let's talk about having the most people accepted to senior district on the choral side, 19 of the last 21 years. We have a world-class performing arts program here in Wellesley. That's fantastic. Let's talk about the cultivating of caring and cooperative relationships. This is putting a bunch of students together to create art, and all of the ins and outs of what those relationships take on through that process. Talk about commitment to community. That's the name of our game. Tomorrow night, if you're free, we have a 7 o'clock concert right here in our auditorium, and we value an opportunity to share our work with all of you. It's talking about, you've heard through a lot of time, this is my 21st year in Wellesley, we've heard a lot of initiatives. Project-based learning, we're project-based learning. If you want to talk about social emotional learning, that's the whole point of what we do. We are here for students to learn how to form relationships, how to interact with one another through the beautiful creativity of art. So obviously I feel passionate about what we offer. The hardest part is finding the time to fit this into the schedule. So I think it's important, just like what Colin was just saying, what prompted the whole science of wellness and well-being, or happiness and well-being. We have to look for the mental health of our kids, our social emotional health of our kids, in addition to the academic. And when we create that whole education for that student, they fly. And it's easy to pile on lots of APs and lots of honors. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to say that you all should do this because we all have our decisions. My son went through Wellesley High School, and my wife and I made a decision, yeah, you know what, maybe we're not going to do the AP route. Well, he got excellent grades here at Wellesley High School. He got accepted to every college he applied to for undergrad, and he is currently in the process of applying for grad schools. And he is now 100% acceptance rate in all of his graduate applications for Clemson, for BC, for Ohio State, for Georgia, for Texas A&M, and he was mostly on the arts side here, but obviously, I'm not going to take anything away from any other academic area, but keeping the whole student in mind. We have the profile of a high school graduate, you know, the arts and the creative side and the relationship side is a big piece of that puzzle. So.
Yeah, just to add on that just a little bit, I always like to tell the story of, so I met my husband playing an instrument. He played the saxophone, and he, going through his own education, was he lived and breathed in the band room. He was the top sax player in his high school. We went to college. I was a music major. He wasn't. He was a business major. He's a lawyer now. He still plays the saxophone for recreation, but it's the things that he learned in the band room that he carries with him into the courtroom and into client meetings, and they serve him even though he's not a professional musician. You don't have to have that goal in life for these things to be a benefit to your future success.
Yeah, and I should probably clarify. When I said my son was on the art side, he is a music major at Florida State right now. But his grad school applications are actually for higher education with policy slant with an eye on law school. And so it's not just from the arts being accepted, the arts accepting the arts. It's the arts as a way of launching to other academic areas. So.
Does anybody have questions for us? Yeah.
Can you tell us what the new guitar music class is?
Yeah, so it's a new offering this year, and kind of one of the things that we were looking at here is, well, what was missing from the program of studies? And I think outside of the traditional ensemble had been a little bit missing. So guitar is something that you can come in with no experience, pick up and start learning to play in sort of a casual, more informal setting. You don't necessarily need to learn to read music on a staff as you might if you were playing the saxophone or singing in the choir. You learn with chord charts. It can be entry level, or you can come with a little bit of experience. A lot of people learn guitar on their own. My father's a guitarist, and he's entirely self-taught. So that is a new offering. We're excited. I hope it takes off. The guitars, we're working on providing them. I have a couple of things in the works for that. Does that answer the question?
Is it a year-long course?
I believe it's going to be a 3-credit semester, 5 times a cycle course.
And I'll tell you what, I want to take that course so badly I can't tell you. I've always wanted to play guitar, and I've taught myself all the way up through an F chord, and then I put it away and I restart a year later. But that being said, this guitar class, how exciting that we're able to do it. And things that you don't know, people know Mr. Scott from conducting the jazz band and the wind ensemble. And everyone has this image of Mr. Scott and his conducting. It's so pristine and unbelievably clear. But you might not know he's been in a rock band for over 21 years and he's in a group called Air Traffic Controller, and he's a killer guitarist. So he actually can really, really play. So that's going to be a very exciting offering for any kid who wants to jump on that. Like I said, I want to take it.
Yep.
Is that going to be a block or?
Don't think we're far enough in the planning yet to say that for sure. But if you have thoughts, I'm happy to hear them.
So we'll
okay.
look at how kids sign up and see what we have. And that's, we sort of determine the block later. Beck can talk about this better than I can, but just so you know, like that's part of our process. We see, you know, what the numbers look like and what we have to offer and where we can fit it so that the kids have the fewest conflicts. So it could, but we don't know yet. That's early. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good question though.
What's the difference between the honor and the intensive class?
Kevin, you want to answer that?
Sure. So this has been evolving over time, but this stems from the arts classes for a long time. We're not getting GPA credit. So the honors, anything that is auditioned is now considered an honors class here at the high school. So the keynote singers, terrestrial singers, HCO, wind ensemble, 2 o'clock jazz band. These are honors classes for honors GPA credit. Within that, you also have an opportunity for student leadership. And the intensives are oftentimes seniors who basically are identified as the leaders within your program that will go above and beyond the coursework within the class to serve the entire performing arts department or that particular ensemble with all of the administrative duties and leading sectionals, leading private lessons, helping all of the younger students learn what they need to learn to be successful.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah. For the classes that are auditioned starting in 9th grade, do they audition while in middle school?
Yeah, so the directors are in touch with the teachers, so the high school directors are in touch with the middle school teachers about what that process is, and information's already gone out to 8th grade students for how they can submit an audition to the audition ensemble for freshmen.
And for me, keynote singers and Rice Street Singers open grades 10 to 12 for the main purpose of, quite frankly, the students are going through voice changes. And so physically, I need to wait until their voices settle to really have an understanding of what they're going to be moving forward.
Anything else? And thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
John, you're our final piece of the puzzle here. Thank you. Yes.
Sounds great.
John and John.
You're welcome.
John, we have John and John.
I know. You know what I have to do? You're still connected, I'm sorry.
I can pass out, here we go, kind of a version of what I'm gonna talk about. This is just a course breakdown and kind of, it's the way I have it projected here, it's the way I'm gonna talk about it, so hopefully. I was nervous to go after performing arts. Coming up on.
By the way, the other person in the building who can teach that guitar class is John. He's an incredible guitar.
Go teaching.
I didn't bring it today.
Let's go.
But, so, oh, perfect. So just slideshow. So, thank you so much for having me. I'm John Finneran, head of the English department. My 12th year as the English department head, and longer than that here at Wellesley High. In addition to running the department, I also teach one section of the 10th grade ACP. It's my second year in a row doing that, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm fresh off, just came from class actually, getting into Emerson and the Transcendentalists and doing some heavy duty reliance on oneself and the importance of trusting yourself and marching to the beat of your own drum. Coming in today to hopefully give you a helpful way of thinking about English courses and the way you might want to be thinking about selecting them. Just kind of to set it up, I'm going to try to give you what I hope is a helpful overview and then a few lines in to thinking about some more particular specifics as you choose, but obviously we won't go course by course breaking it down. So please do look at the program of studies, which we've updated a lot over the years. And I hope has a pretty helpful breakdown, particularly with the skills. Like here is sort of like the real focus on reading that we're going to do, the focus on writing, the speaking and listening for each course with also an accompanying description. And then if you have more questions, please call me, email me. I'm always happy to talk about anything. So to set up what we're going to be looking at, helpful to keep in mind, English is a 4-year graduation requirement. So students have to sit for and pass English each year. And there are these courses right here that satisfy that English requirement. So if in a given year you take one of the options and pass, you have satisfied your graduation requirement for the year. If we can flip to the next one. So these courses are also available. So this is page 2 of the handout, like the flip side. But these are our elective offerings. So these courses do not satisfy the English requirement for the year. These are courses that a student would take in addition to their kind of like core English class. And so as you're thinking about those, we designed these with that in mind. So we know you're already in English 9, 10, 11, or 12, and that you've signed up for this just because you're interested in it and you want to like learn a bit about it. So it's not going to be as intense, it's not going to be as much work. They're still going to do things and learn things and produce things, but we kind of have it with the mind to, oh, these are kids who are just interested in like doing some more creative writing and learning how to like workshop their poems, or kids who really like film and they want to talk about analyzing films and the history of films. So it's more like fun, interest-based. And all of these, except for Bradford, are semester courses. So they're offered, and as you can see, some of them are 11 and 12. And if it doesn't say 11 and 12 only, that means it's open to 9 through 12. The Bradford, the one that I said is the only year course, that's our school newspaper. So for any student who's interested in journalism in any way, shape, or form, that's a great place. I mean, it's essentially a functioning newsroom. I get to go in there a lot, and they really are a student-led, student-produced, functioning newspaper with a social media presence. Like, they're doing it all. They're really kind of like keeping up to date with those skills. So that's our only course with a prerequisite too. So the prerequisite for the school newspaper is Media Matters. We offer that first semester every year, and it's available 9 through 12. And the way we set that up is we run it the same block as Bradford. So if you take it first semester and you want to continue on, then you can just roll into Bradford in the next semester. You don't have to, but you have the option. And I had a student just add, she's a sophomore and she took Media Matters as a freshman, decided not to go to Bradford right away, but then she just added it this year as a sophomore. And like, fine, like once you've taken Media Matters, you're kind of like welcome to joining Bradford whenever you'd like to. So just kind of plugging that out there for understanding needs. And I was going to move back to the core course selections, but if you had particular questions about the elective offerings, I'd be happy to clear anything up or answer anything before moving back to the other things. Okay. So go back to that first page. Yeah, thanks, John. So as you're picking out that course for the kind of core graduation requirement, you can see choices increase as you go. So in 11th grade, the AP becomes an option, and then in 12th grade, a lot of other things become an option. All these satisfy the graduation requirement. We try, like the 12th grade, really, we've tried to, because it's been in development over a while now, kind of model that a little more college style, right? Where you're getting those fundamental reading and writing and speaking skills, and you're also having these options to maybe pursue something that you yourself are particularly interested in. So it's not just like standard English. Standard English is still an option, for sure. But there is other things, if you choose to pursue it, you can. But if you look 9 to 10, you realize it really is your kind of choosing level. There's not choice really much beyond level. So I thought I'd talk about a little bit about what the different levels look like and in order to kind of help with that thinking. So maybe, if you don't mind, John, we'll go 2 slides back. There we go, perfect. So in thinking about the level and what's the right fit for me, particularly in the English world, right? And maybe this is some overlap from what you've heard from other departments. But basically, I kind of think of these as like the first 2, scaffolding and pacing, as sort of like that school side, and interest and balance are more on the student family side. So I'm going to talk about the first 2 to start. Pacing, I think, pretty self-explanatory, but you get the idea. The pacing, how much you read, how much you write, is going to increase as you move CP to ACP to honors, and you're going to have kind of this expectation of being able to keep up with that. And it's not that you're like out on an island by yourself if you can't, like obviously you can meet with your teacher, but the idea is like you would kind of take yourself initiated and say like, hey, I'm falling behind as the pace gets faster. And I threw daily class block in there too, because I think that's something for kids to think about really, is what does the individual class block feel like? Like, are you moving pretty quickly from activity to activity? And you learn a skill and then it's kind of go practice the skill. how much time do I need for maybe checking in individually with my teacher or getting a redirect from the teacher, these sort of things to think about. There'll be more built in within a CP or an ECP, and then less as you go up, right? The scaffolding piece is sort of what I was just talking about, the way things are built in. I was thinking, to give you kind of like a really concrete example for English, right? You think about reading, most nights you're gonna have a reading assignment. So if you take like our 9th grade, CP, ACP, and honors, they all read Romeo and Juliet. So everybody's reading the same text, ultimately really getting at the same skills, being able to read closely, to figure things out, to come to deeper conclusions. But just kind of what it looks like getting there is gonna look different based on your levels, right? So this is generalization, but I hope it's like a helpful snapshot. So you're in an honors class, you get assigned a scene from the play for homework. And sort of the thought is, you come into class and you've got a pretty good understanding of the plot and the characters and the sort of like what happened details. And so the teacher starts you off maybe getting more quickly into the analysis, posing some higher order thinking questions to get to that thing. But in ACP, we build in probably a little bit more time to check for understanding, to go through some of those details, clear up any confusion around the plot and what happened, make sure you knew, oh, it was that character who did that, not that character, and kind of going through, and then once you've got that going, then you get into those higher order thinking things. Similar with CP, that built-in stuff, and I would say with the addition of oftentimes some reading in class together, more often than the others, where we're gonna like model that and say like, well, here we're reading together. How do we know that so-and-so's doing that in this thing that we just read and going through? Okay, so now this is the type of thing you're gonna wanna look for when you go off and read by yourself. So again, it's like same text, ultimately trying to get to the same place, but the map to get there has been laid out a little differently. And my last, so then for the home side, like it obviously is for you to choose, you know best. The interest in the subject, obviously if you've got a kid at home who hates reading, and it's a fight to open the book, and you're like, well, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you opened your book and read? Maybe don't encourage the student to take on the class that has the most possible reading, right, at the fastest pace. Similarly, balance of schedule. If you have a student at home who just loves math or science or social studies and is really going all in on that and studying that all the time, like find them maybe balance that out with the English level selection in order to kind of have an overall balance. And similarly, if you have someone who's really involved with extracurriculars and has a ton of stuff going on, just to think about these things. There is no tracking in English. What level you take in 1 year has no sort of bearing on the level you take in the years to come. Like I said, the only prereq is the newspaper. You gotta take the Media Matters. Otherwise, you can take whatever course you choose each year. So I'd always encourage kids to like think of like, what do I need right now? Like where am I at right now, and what are the things I need in order to feel like I'm going to be comfortable and successful in my class, and kind of go from there. And don't worry too much about 2 years from now where you think you'd like to be. So those are kind of my big picture things. Hope it was helpful. Happy to take a question. Is there a question?
Yes, thanks. Is the AP Language and Composition,
Yeah.
can a 12th grader take it?
So it's only open to 11th graders at this point. We allowed 12th graders to take it this year. We've been planning to introduce it as an 11th grade course from the start. It's pretty consistent with area schools. This year though, because the sitting 12th graders hadn't had the chance to take it as 11th graders, we opened it up to them and said, okay, if you're in the 12th grade this year and you'd like to take it, then you can. But moving forward, it's just going to be for 11th graders.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that? I know it was a really popular class in that there were a number of students who wanted to get in, who didn't get into the class. So, and I happened to have one of them. So he was on the wait list, wasn't able to get in this year, and so now is he unable to take it next year?
I was not aware we had any wait list for AP.
So my question was, because I know there are spaces available in the course, that
Yeah.
perhaps there was another scheduling issue that made a specific section that he needed to have that was full. So
I mean, I emailed directly with Mr. Contreras, and I don't need to talk about an individual student, but was told that it was a wait list only.
Maybe follow up individually on that too.
Yeah, I was under the, though there is space in the
Yeah.
course, so I was not aware of any of this.
It could be for a particular section.
Okay.
For 12th grade, for all the options that you listed, are those all full year courses?
Yes, yep. Would you mind going back one to the first one, John? Yeah, so these are all full year courses, and the one sort of slightly different one would be humanities. It's still a full year English course, but in the first semester it's co-taught with a social studies teacher. So in the first semester it's a double block, and it counts for your 6-credit English and the 3-credit social studies because it's half a year. And then after first semester, the social studies component isn't there. And we've tried to do it that way largely because students what we were kind of getting for feedback was like, oh, that's a cool class, I'd like to take it, but it's jamming up my schedule really bad with 2 full blocks for the whole year. So we tried to run this model to see if that worked better for students. Yeah, but all year long otherwise.
Okay, for the selected class, you have ACP/honors, so what does it mean?
So in order to run full sections of them where we have now so many classes, what we've been trying to do is run essentially like both levels in the same class, and the student can, it's similar to what our language department does with their courses. So 2 students sitting in the same class may have elected to take the course at a different level, and then we kind of have different criteria for assignments, different rubrics that we use in order to say, like, here's kind of what you need to hit for an ACP, here's what you need to hit if you're taking it for honors. That's, yeah.
Just for that, for the 11th grade, the way you described like the 9th grade, everybody reads Romeo and Juliet, different depth, maybe different pace.
Yeah.
For the 11th grade, the difference between the honors and the AP class is actually a different course.
Yeah, so right, really good clarification, right? So the AP, so what I said about 9 and 10 would be true for those 3. Really, they're just different levels of the same course. But then the AP course is entirely different, right? So the focus with these 3 is still a focus on literature, largely fiction, and kind of going through novels, poetry, short stories, understanding character development, authors' choices, and close reading, whereas the AP Lang has a really specific curriculum that focuses on reading and writing through the lens of rhetoric. So that kind of like Greek pathos, ethos, logos, what's the speaker, who's the speaker, what are they trying to do, how are they appealing in terms of like, are they trying to get to people's feelings, to their logic, whatever the case might be, and then how does the time and place and the particular audience affect that message and the tools that the author uses. And the big difference too would be that it's largely nonfiction. So where these are going to be largely or almost entirely fiction, maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, this will be almost entirely nonfiction, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions.
Is the volume of reading homework comparable?
Yeah, so we designed this to make it comparable to the 11H. The school weighs them exactly the same, so we tried to make it so the work is exactly the same. Expectations around that. I mean, nothing's perfect because it's to read an essay by someone and to read a short story, it's just kind of a different type of reading, but like in terms of, like the pages that we tried to keep them what felt was as equal as possible. Other questions, thoughts? What's coming up? Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Like I said, if you have further questions, shoot me an email, give me a call, I can talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.